All right, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and jump in here. I've got a case study for you. I'm going to pull it up. And hey, let's go full screen for a second. So today, overall, solid price action. Hit the daily goal, finishing just above it. But I started this morning not feeling 100%. And this is the area where I have to be kind of honest with myself in my assessment of how am I feeling each day. So I woke up this morning at this, I started getting a headache last night before I went to bed. And when I woke up, I was just like, whoa, I've got a really bad headache. So, I took my medicine that I take for my headaches, and I came over here just kind of sitting down at like 7:30, and I was like, ugh, I just don't feel that great. And I thought, all right, let's take it slow, right? Let's recognize how I'm feeling right now and not dig myself a huge hole or do something stupid because my performance is probably not going to be as sharp today as it might be on a day where I'm feeling 100%, right? Let's just be real. So I sat down today and I was pretty cautious as I was looking at the scanners. I saw a few different stocks I liked. As always, I'm checking my phone. This morning I was pulling up the scans. This was at 6:45, the scan. So I was pulling this up here, fairly early this morning, and I was like, all right. At that time, leading gapper was 45, 42%. Second leader was 35%. That was at 6:45. So I was like, I don't really need to come rushing over. There's nothing looking that great. So I ended up making my way over here, and we had a stock that hit my scans, and I initially was like, "Whoa, this looks like the type that could go wild. Like this is exciting." And I felt a little nervous. I was like, "Okay, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna hit this buy button?" Because I kind of knew it would either be a big winner or a big loser. The reason I knew was because the stock had bigger spreads, it was lighter volume, and it was just the type that when they work really well, but when they don't work, it can be bad. And so I was like, okay, well, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm really happy with this. I self corrected. I said, wait, hold on for 1 second. Remember, your goal each day is first to build a cushion because you want to avoid going red. So first build a cushion. Once you have the cushion, lean in. And I thought with this, if I punch it for 2,500 shares or 5,000 shares, I could easily lose $1 a share. And on my first trade, I'm down $5,000, right? Max loss. So I said, all right, I like it, but let's moderate the share size and bring the size way, way, way down. So I ended up taking the trade with, I tried 1,500 shares. I only got filled about 937, partial fill, something like that. Ends up going up over $1 a share, and I made about $1,000 on the first trade. And I was like, okay, good. Now, reminder, it's a lot easier to move in and out of the market with small size than big size. And so that same trade, if I tried to take it with 10,000 shares, probably wouldn't have. Well, I only filled 900 shares of a 1,500 share order. So I could have put the order for 10,000 shares. I still would have only filled 900 because it moves so fast. So the fact is, even if I had tried bigger size, I wouldn't have filled. But nonetheless, I built my cushion on that first trade, which I'll break down in more detail later during this episode. And then that set me up well for WNW. So WNW is going to be our case study today. We're going to do a deep dive on this stock. I found the stock, step one, on my scanners. This is how I find all the stocks I'm trading. Well, I don't want to say all of them. I'd say 99% of them. Okay, you could round up and say all of them. But just to be clear, there are times where someone will say, hey, I see a stock I like, and I'll see it in the chat room that someone mentions it, and I'll pull it up and maybe I'll take a trade on it. But 99% of the time, my trades are coming right off this high day Momo scanner. So WNW started moving up the scans at about, I don't know, 7:45, 8 a.m. It was pretty early. And so the first thing I saw was actually was hitting my small cap high a day momentum scanner down here. So it was, one of these alerts right here, and it was sort of moving up this top gainers scanner. And I was like, all right, well, what's the catalyst, right? What's driving this thing higher? And this was the problem. I couldn't find any news. So I'm like, okay, the stock is up with no news. This is where we could start to get a little bit of risk. Like, I don't understand, sometimes why a stock will go up 100, 200% on absolutely no news. But, this one started to move higher, no news. Now, would it surprise you to learn that it's a Chinese stock? Probably not. We see these Chinese stocks make these kind of moves from time to time. So I look at the daily chart. I'm already somewhat familiar with the ticker because I remember when it made this move recently. And you can see a couple days where you had these big rejections, pops up, sells off. Typical Chinese small cap stock. Reverse split back in December, made the big move after the split, and then sold off completely, down to like $1 a share. A little less than $1, actually, I think. Anyways, it's been going sideways here for a while. And then today, all of a sudden, it's starting to squeeze up. So the daily chart's not bad in the sense that it's been beaten up for a long time. Max loss around $1 a share, and it's got room back up towards the 200 moving average. So I'm like, okay, maybe. I pull up the 10-second chart and I start to look at it. And you can see at 7 a.m., it's kind of squeezing higher, pulling back, pushing a little higher, little topping tail here, little top here, a little top here. But if you recall from the case studies I did on Monday and Tuesday this week, today's Wednesday, we had stocks on Monday and Tuesday of a similar price range that ended up making 200, 300% moves. Really strong, super high volume, just kept grinding higher and higher and higher. So when I saw this moving higher, and it did feel like it was grinding, it was thickly traded, a lot of volume, I said, all right, this feels like the obvious one. It's the leading percentage gainer in the entire market. This is kind of the no-brainer stock to be focused on. And I already had my cushion. So what I did was I bought 5,000 shares right at this yellow arrow here when it broke over $2.50. And it pretty much immediately went up, as you can see here, to like 265, which put me up $750. Now, since I was already up 1,000 on the day, I could have just sold right there for $750 and been up about $2,000, right? 1,700, whatever. And that would have been fine. But because we've had this pattern, this theme of this price range making really big moves, yesterday I tried to be a little more aggressive, and I thought today I'm going to do the same. So as I'm up $750, I said, you know what? I'm going to add to this position, because one of my rules is that right now I'm not increasing share size above 5,000 shares until I'm first up $1,000 on the day. So I got myself up 1,000 on the day, and then I'm in this position with 5,000 shares. I'm up $750, which puts me up about 1,700 on the day. And I said, I'm going to lift my cap on my share size, and I'm going to add to the position. I added 10,000 shares. So now I've got 15,000, and I added another 10,000 shares. So I went up to a 25,000 share position, which is a big position in total shares, but this is a very low price stock at $2.50. So it's not really even using a whole lot of capital as far as that's concerned. Anyways, it goes up to a high of 280. It pulls back for a moment. It goes up to 285. It pulls back for a moment. And in this area, I took a little profit off the table. I think it was about 78 and 85. Now my average moved up from 250 to about 265. So when I when I took profit at 275, it was really only $2,500 that I was up, right? It's only 10 cents a share. Anyways, it goes up to 290. It pulls back. I actually added at 295 for the break over 3, and I got my best exit at 303, $3.03. It pulls back. I tried to do a dip trade. It was actually down here. I did dip trade off of about 270. It comes back up. I sold. It comes back down. I do another dip trade. Comes back up. Tiny profit, like 3 cents. Comes back down, another dip trade. I kept doing dip trades because I got a really nice dip trade yesterday on LASE, and it went all the way back to the highs. But in these dip trades, what ended up happening was I kept buying and selling, 5,000 share starter, and I added to 10,000 shares on one of them. But they didn't pull away. So the net effect of all these trades was that I ended up generating more commissions by churning shares, and I didn't really add a substantial amount of profit. So it ended up going from about $1.20 all the way to $3.10, and then it ends up pulling back. So I ended up finishing with $4,460.02. I thought that was pretty solid. Could have done a little bit better, I suppose, if I had started trading it earlier, but I wasn't totally sure about it. But I sort of jumped in and participated on this move up to 3. And then I did a good job by not trading the back side of the move. So the front side of the move here, in terms of MACD, moving averages moving apart, and then we cross over, MACD, cross over again to the positive, cross over again to the negative, cross over again to the positive here, crossed over to the negative, and then we stayed negative for a while. And by this point, now we're really selling off. We're coming back down to VWAP. And I pretty much was like, yeah, I think it's over. I think I did the best I could. So this is my total P&L on the day, $6,077.64, which puts me above my $5,000 daily goal, which is great. I'll back this out here. We'll move this up here. And we'll look at SUNN and ADIL. So if we look at volume today, if we just sort by volume, right now we have 3 stocks with nearly 50 million shares of volume. Well, 3 of them are over 40. 2 of them are over 50. Tons of volume today. WNW, 43 million. ADIL, 59 million. ADIL, I kind of just felt like it was getting crowded. And I did take a trade on it for the break at 250, but it ended up just sort of stalling out. I only ended up making, $600 and $680. I did take bigger size on that because I was like, okay, I'm in the groove. I'm feeling good, but I had to scale that back down pretty quickly. It ended up rolling over. In fact, at 9 a.m. today, I said, I'm going to bring my share size back down to a cap of, I think it was 5,000 shares. Because I was like, after that last trade on ADIL, that kind of stalled out. I don't feel like pushing it anymore. I think I've done well enough today. So ADIL, a little choppy, coming back down. SUUN, this one, recent IPO, hit the scanners earlier, looked at the chart on the daily and was like, okay, right. If this breaks through this all-time high, we could really make a move. And you can see on this candle, it ends up going up to a high of 1063. Like that was nice, right? And I was thinking, hey, here we go. Are we going to see 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? Could have happened, but it just didn't. And that's fine. I'm just glad that I managed my risk on that first trade because it would have been really easy for me to say, oh, here we go, boom, in big size. But I also reminded myself that hasn't been really the theme right now. The theme has been more on these, $2 to $4 price stocks that are grinding on high volume and just keep going higher and higher and higher and higher. So I was like, that's what I should focus on. Now, in other, periods, we get into a theme where we're having these stocks on light volume. They're going up 5, 10, 15 points. And then traders start getting really exuberant and excited to jump on the next one that's moving. But that's not the theme right now. And in fact, we've seen some nasty rejections on some of these some of these lower volume, big spread stocks. So I'm really glad that I was cautious on that and said, let's just break the ice first. And if it wants to go higher, I can always add back. Which I know some people are going to have a hard time with. Like, Russ, you're going to take small size at 8. It's going to go to 10, and then you're going to add back, big size at 10.50 or 11? You're an idiot. You should have taken big size at the first trade. And, I get that, but at the same time, you take first size on that big trade and it dumps, all of a sudden you're down at max loss. And I'm really trying to protect myself from those drawdowns right now. So, look, I'm going to have a drawdown at some point. There's no question about it, but I'm focusing on trying to be consistent. Slow and steady wins the race. I'm not trying to be a hero. This isn't the market to try to do that. I'm just trying to show up every single day, lock up a couple base hits, make a little bit of money, and then live to trade another day. That's it. That's all that I need to do, right? So, and for those of you who are trading in relatively small accounts or who are newer in your career, you don't have a cushion. You can't afford to be sloppy. You've got to focus on being super consistent, minimizing your risk, taking high probability trades, getting a cushion, locking up a couple base hits, and then leaning in if it's a day where it's hot. So it feels to me like right now, probably the majority of these days in the last couple weeks have been sort of small base hit days. If I tried to step up to swing big, I probably would have struck out. But since I focused on keeping it more moderate, I was able to lock up some small base hits. And so in the last 10 days, I've got, last week I was up 15,000. This week I'm already up about the same. So making some nice progress. This is great. All right. Now, if tomorrow we end up having a stock that goes absolutely insane, I'll lean in. I'll hit the $5,000 goal. Next stock, comes up, or I'll keep trading. Next thing you know, I'm up 7, 8, 10, 15,000. And that's the day I'm going to push. But I'm just trying to protect myself from having a day where things unwind, unravel, and I end up with this really big drawdown. So far, I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of that. And today felt like a good example, especially considering I didn't feel that great this morning when I showed up. And these can be the type of days where it's easy to get a little stubborn or a little complacent, or this is just stubborn because you're just not feeling 100%. So anyways, then we also had the overall market pulling back a little bit today. CPI number came in a little higher than expected. So the market dropped at 8:30 when that news came out. But right now we're bouncing a little bit off the low. So anyways, that's big picture of the overall market. IWM, small cap index, was down on that same news. Small caps are, a little bit more sensitive to this in a way. So bigger drop there percentage wise, but it's also kind of bouncing a little bit. And for what it's worth, I suppose you could probably say this is more or less near support. So right there. All right, so that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive case study on WNW. I hope you hit the thumbs up. I hope you're subscribed to the channel. If not, hit that subscribe button. It's not that hard. Just smash it. All right, that's it for me. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you back at it first thing tomorrow morning.